Good morning, how are we? Hope we're good. This is a nifty little contraption, isn't it? Oh mate, that's a bit sturdy, but can you see me? We're gonna roll with it. Yesterday's session was a Zone 2 session post Mallorca, first one back. Saying that, I did train 3 or 4 times when I was over there, but the majority of the time I was just chilling, relaxing, and eating a lot of food that was off-piste and off-plan. That's what holidays are for, let's be brutally honest. So, yeah, as I say, that session was just to break the mould yesterday, which is done and dusted. Today I'm going to do some off-run work. Probably going to do 4-minute rounds, bike, ski erg and rower, because tomorrow I'm going to be doing the same, but max efforts, which is what I did 2 weeks ago, which I felt really strong for. And it's a big mind fuck when you know you felt strong on doing a session before and you've had a bit of a deload, you've had some time off, and you repeat the session, it doesn't feel quite the same. You have to work with your mindset to deal with that quite a bit, because you can get in your own fucking head, which I used to do. When I first got into training, I got into training after playing football. So I played football from the age of 12 to the age of 22. Finished in the US, did a scholarship over there. It was amazing. Came back and pretty much felt a bit lost, actually. A bit like, oh fuck, what now? Because I'd put so much time and attention into playing football. And you know what it's like when you're a youngster. You're like, right, I'm going to make the grade. I'm going to be playing for England one day, all that sort of stuff. But reality was, it didn't become a reality. So after coming back and stepping into the real world and having to use my degree, I stepped into personal training. And I sort of neglected my fitness to an extent, as in, because I was playing football and I had a mission, I was being a goalkeeper, I had to train in a specific way. I actually loved, as a side note, I actually loved training more than playing. I thought playing on a Saturday was fucking boring, hated it. Whereas training, I loved it, because you're active, you're moving about all the time. In comparison, I actually did not like the game on a Saturday. So anyway, came back, had no mission with my fitness. So, you know, had no mission with having to play a sport or anything like that, apart from me building a body for what I thought was a representation of what a personal trainer should be perceived to look like, and how they operate and how they move. So quickly fell into the line of training very similar to a bodybuilder, but never stood on stage in my underpants and never aspired, really. It wasn't fulfilling me in a deeper way. I don't know if that's the right terminology to use, but it just wasn't inspiring enough for me to pursue it as aggressively as I wanted to. So turned into, pretty quickly, the stereotypical personal trainer wearing the tight tops on the gym floor and look at me, I'm great, bollocks, which led me on a path to something far against who I actually was. My eye-opening moment for that, and I knew this was happening at the time when I was going through it. I knew that this was internally, on a subconscious level. I was like, Tom, you're fucking not operating right here. This is not right. But consciously, I ignored it. I was doing a gym session and I'd forgot my headphones to train legs. I got into the gym, got changed, did all that. I was like, oh, fuck, forgot my headphones. And for anybody, and obviously you guys know, training legs, fucking hell, it's the worst thing to train in the world, because it's relentless at the time. It doesn't give you the same satisfaction of training chest or back, for example. So I ran to my car, I ran out the gym building, I ran to my car, ran back in, and I was absolutely fucked. Like blowing out my arse. After running 400 yards. And in my mind, in my brain, something just woke up and just said, fucking Tom, listen, that's not good enough. But from that day, it was like, right, you have always been an athlete and treated yourself like one since you were a youngster. You were disciplined in your approach, you sacrificed a lot, you did all these sorts of things from a younger age through your career of playing football, all those sorts of things. You didn't do the social occasions, you didn't do the stuff with blah blah blah, all the stuff that everyone sort of go through when they have the ambition of making a grade or being a professional, whatever it is. So I had that conversation within myself in that gym changing room when I had the headphones in my hand, shaking, sweating, and couldn't fucking see. Slowly put me in a hole, actually. It didn't give me an answer, but it put me in a hole. It put me in a place where I was like, fucking hell, right, but what now? And I just felt a little bit lost within myself, especially being within the fitness industry. I was like, what the fuck, what am I doing? What's going on now? And then unfortunately, my dad was diagnosed with idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis. And for anybody who suffers with that, or who knows someone who suffers with that, understand that it's a degenerative lung condition. So slowly over a period of time your lungs lose capacity to utilise oxygen properly. So for him, doing simple activities such as walking up the stairs, it took him at least 5 to 10 minutes. Now if you think of that on a time scale, 5 to 10 minutes is a long time, and it genuinely felt like a marathon for him by the time he got to the top of the stairs. So you can imagine at that sort of time, if I'd neglected my conditioning and I was like, right, my lungs are battered from running 400 yards to go and get my headphones, and I've seen it happen at home with my dad. My dad's condition got worse and he passed away, and that put me in pretty much a hole in a hole. I took it upon myself to buy a road bike for some random reason off a friend of mine for 200 quid. It was hanging up in his garage, he wasn't using it. Well, mate, I'll give you 200 quid cash. He actually gave me the bike, he gave me the helmet as well, gave me the cleats. I was like, oh, bonus, happy days. I used it as a level of escapism at the time. So for me it was great because you could just get on your bike and fucking pedal 30 miles that way. And I loved it. I genuinely felt like I was being a kid again. It was weird. And it made me have some real deep conversations with my dad. In my head, obviously. Something just felt right about doing it. I can't put words on it, and I'm really sorry that I can't articulate it properly, but I just found something within doing that cycling element. So anyway, I put it into a mission. I did a charity ride, which was a sportif called the Yorkshire Beast, which is cycling 200 miles across the Yorkshire Dales and the Yorkshire Moors with over 18,000 feet of elevation. It was fucking hard. I think from a sportif perspective, it's one of the more difficult ones. There are difficult challenges, but fucking a lot. Especially one being my first sportif, and after maybe 8 months of training in the saddle, did not know what to expect. Absolutely clueless. Didn't know anything about bike pressure, tyre pressure, didn't know anything about the frames, didn't know anything, and as you can imagine, you fucking learn this as you go, and you have to fail forward fast in doing that, which I did. And I remember a quick story for you on the actual event of the sportif. I remember going up my first climb. It was fucking horrendous, and I fell off halfway because, as you can imagine, when you pedal uphill, you're pushing and I just couldn't physically push my legs. I was standing up, and then eventually I was like, right, I'll stop and have a breather. Stop, tried to unclip my cleats, fell off. Decent. So fell off, fucking great. Walked to the top for the first one, and by the way, you are getting chased at 12.5 miles an hour average whilst doing the event. Then got back on the bike, carried on, and then I went up the second climb. I think the top climbs in total, there's like 5 fucking horrible ones. The second one, I managed it, got to the top, got a puncture on my rear wheel. Never had to deal with a puncture before. So I was fucked. I was panicking. I was like, shit, got a puncture, tried to get it off, fucking about with it, all this sort of shit. Just luckily, there was like an SOS van who's basically a mobile engineer. He comes around and makes sure that everything's working. He just happened to be where the zone where I was. Came, helped me out, sorted it, fixed it, put it back together. Amazing. Got back on, pedalled 10 minutes, fucking same thing happened again. Rear wheel, puncture, wounded. So luckily I'd set off and the van was still behind me. What had happened, I'd replaced what I thought was the puncture, but I just basically replaced it whilst leaving a piece of glass in the tyre. Complete twat. To say the least, this bloke fixed it and he said, right, you will be good to go now. That is fixed as it should be. Got back on, carried on. By this point, he said to me, look, the beast, or the van that's going to pick you up if you don't do fast enough, is behind you by about 10 minutes. So you've got to start fucking pedalling. So started pedalling, and it meant that I had to miss the third or second feed station. So these feed stations are positioned every 25 to 30 mile. I had to miss one of these feed stations out. Considering that it was June, fucking hot, and I sweat like a bastard. Not in a good place. So I managed to blast it to the third station, absolutely gasping for water. Came back some water, and then got back on the bike, carried on with the day. And you know what makes it worse with this event? The sportive itself is in a figure of 8. So if you imagine figure of 8, you start in the middle, you go out, and then you halfway is the start line. Wow, that is probably one of the biggest head fucks ever, because you sat there, you're at the start line, and you've done half of it, and you're about 7 hours in. You've got to get back on and fucking do the rest of it. Anyway, got back on, did the rest of it, got up to the third climb, fourth climb. The last climbs, they were like longer climbs up into the Yorkshire moors. Before the last feed station, so I had about 30 or 40 miles left, the fucking front derailleur on my bike had broke. So I was like, oh shit. So I had to physically, with my right heel, unclip and fucking smash it into gear, because the derailleur would kicked it out of gear. So I was just fucking kneeing it, and at this time my head was fucked. Thinking about people who sponsored me for charity, thinking about my dad, thinking about not letting people down, I was just fucking everywhere. Probably the most difficult emotional challenge I've ever done in my life. So anyway, I'm praying that this fucking derailleur will work. I managed to smash it into the little ring, kept it going, and to say the least, my arse was in fucking bits, my back was in clip, my knees were fucked, and to say the least, I managed to get over the finish line at 10 to 10, 9:50, and the cut-off time was 10 PM, and it was just fucking overwhelming. I was really, really so pleased, so proud, and that sparked me off into the conditioning world, and that was my little project called Project Muscle on Wheels. And now, fast forward that a little bit more, I'm now entering into my next project, Project High Rocks. So I'll talk to you about that shortly.